Hello everyone, welcome to Advanced Knowledge System and a warm welcome to AKS IAS Academy, which is one of the premier institutions in India, and it offers examination coaching for UPSC CSE, State Public Service Commission, SSC Combined Graduate Level and CLAT examinations. About me and Sandeep Bhushan and my credentials are I have 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I take up international relations and internal security and the analysis of the newspaper. And this session is the DNA of the Hindu newspaper, that is today's of 13th of January 2021. And this session will definitely help you because I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases from the Hindu newspaper, wherein we will identify the factual, analytical and conceptual questions for the preliminary examination, and we will also get into the mode of identifying the mains examination point of view. While you imbibe the keywords and the key phrases, your answers for the mains examinations would be precise and concise, and therefore you would score higher marks in the mains examinations. So this session of AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis will help you to crack prelims as well as mains 2021. And before we get into the DNA of the newspaper, we will look at the quote of the day. And the quote of the day says that work hard in silence, let the success make the noise. So when you are having a goal, short term or long term goal, make sure that you are working hard. Do not make any noise while you're working. Let the noise be the success itself. And now we'll get into the DNA of the newspaper, that is the Hindu newspaper, and the news which we would be discussing, or the analysis which we would be doing, is on the three form laws. What the Supreme Court has said in regards to the three form laws, and the Supreme Court has stayed the implementation of the form laws which are controversial, which the discussion between the farmers and the union government are at a deadlock, and the Supreme Court has called the controversial form laws, or else in regards to the staying the implementation of the controversial form laws, as an extraordinary and a victory for fair play. And this stay of the implementation of the laws by the Supreme Court means that the center now cannot proceed with any executive actions in regards to the enforcement of the three form laws. So that is what the analysis of the Supreme Court staying on the implementation of the three form laws means, that the center cannot proceed with any executive actions to enforce the form laws. And the court has also directed that the MSP system, that is minimum support price system, would be in existence before the farm laws should be maintained, and the farm laws should be maintained until any further notice which the Supreme Court would go ahead with giving the further judgment in regards to the MSP and the enactment of the farm laws. And the farmers' landholdings should also be protected, the court has directed. So the court has directed in regards to the MSP and in regards to the enactment of the farm laws, and the farmers' landholdings should be protected. So this is the analysis of the Supreme Court implementing or putting a stay on the implementation of the farm laws. But I repeat once again, the Supreme Court has not questioned the constitutional validity of the farm laws. It has just stayed the implementation of the farm laws. And the court has formed 4-member committee of experts, wherein these committee members would listen to the grievances of the farmers which are in regards to the farm laws, and they would also listen to the views of the government. And in turn, by listening to the grievances of the farmers and the views of the government, the 4-member committee which has been formed by the advice of the Supreme Court would make the recommendations further. And this committee has to start within 10 days and submit the report to the Supreme Court in 2 months. And the Supreme Court has also said that the expenses for the 4-member committee experts to listen to the grievances and also to take the views of the government, the expenses would be borne by the government itself. And the court order makes it very clear that the farmers should also participate in the discussion of the 4-member committee which has been formed by the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court nominated committee which is formed is to resolve the standoff or the skirmish or the face off which is between the farmers unions and the government of India in pertaining to the 3 controversial agricultural reform laws. Is the farmers unions say that the Supreme Court nominated committee is a government ploy. So the farmers unions are not happy with the court forming a 4-member committee because the farmers union says that it is a government ploy, that it says that all the 4 members of the committee who are now part of the committee of experts which has been formed by the Supreme Court to listen to the grievances of the farmers and also the views of the government, the farmers union says that all the 4 members of the committee had actively advocated for the agricultural reforms. That is why the farmers are not happy and they are rejecting the Supreme Court nominated 4-member committee of experts to listen to the grievances of the farmers. And the committee members, that is the 4-member committee members, constitutes Bhupender Singh Mann, who is the national president of Bharatiya Kisan Union and All India Kisan Coordination Committee. And the second member is Dr. Pramod Kumar Joshi, who is an agricultural economist and director for South Asia International Food Policy Research Institute. And the third member is Ashok Gulati, who is agricultural economist and former chairman of the Commission for Agricultural Cost and Prices. And the fourth member of the 4-member committee of experts constituted by Supreme Court is Anil Ghanwat, who is the president Shetkari Sangathana. So these are the 4-member committee of experts being constituted by the Supreme Court to listen to the grievances of the farmers and also the views of the government, and wherein the Supreme Court has now stayed the implementation of the farm or agricultural laws. And the another news which talks about is the Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan has said that there are no options of making a choice between the 2 available vaccines. So there are no options to select which vaccine, but it is that as per the availability, the Union Health Secretary has said that there would be no option of making a choice between the 2 available COVID vaccine, that is Covishield and Covaxin. And the rollout of the administering of the COVID-19 vaccines, that is Covishield and the Covaxin, would start from January 16th, 2021. And the Union government has also started procuring the vaccines, that is Covishield, from the Serum Institute of India, which is based at Pune, at a price of 200 rupees per dose, and procuring Covaxin, that is the COVID-19 vaccine procured by the Union government from Bharat Biotech BBIL at rupees 295 per dose. So this is the cost which the Union government has procured the Covishield and Covaxin at 200 rupees and 295 rupees dose respectively from Serum Institute of India and the Bharat Biotech India Limited. And the vaccines would first reach the 4 depots, that is Karnal, Kolkata, Chennai and Mumbai, and all the states will have at least one state level regional vaccine store. So this is the keyword, that each state will have at least one state level regional vaccine store, and Uttar Pradesh has 9 state level regional vaccine store, followed by Madhya Pradesh 4, Gujarat 4, Kerala with 3, Jammu and Kashmir 2, Karnataka 2 and Rajasthan 2, and the other states will have at least, that is, one state level regional vaccine stores. And the ICMR has also made it very clear or spoken about the vaccine regime which will be followed in regards to the administering of the Covaxin and Covishield, that it will be administered with a gap of 28 days between 2 doses, and the effectiveness of the administering of the vaccine, that is Covaxin and Covishield, begins 14 days after the second dose. So there would be a gap of two doses with a gap of 28 days, and the effectiveness of the administering of the vaccine would begin only after 14 days after the second dose. That is what the ICMR head Dr. Balram Bhargava has spoken about the vaccine regime in India. And during the vaccination process, ICMR has also made it very clear that the entire nation has to follow the appropriate behavior is must during the vaccination, and even after the vaccination the appropriate behavior of COVID-19 has to be maintained to make sure that the effectiveness of the Covaxin and the Covishield would be impacted in India across all the volunteers or the patients or the citizens who would be administering the vaccine. And the another news is in regards to the contempt court. The news what we would be analyzing is in regards to the contempt court. The keyword what we would be focusing is the contempt court, and here the Karnataka High Court has ordered an issue of notice. So Karnataka High Court has ordered an issue of notice to the union government. Why it has, or why Karnataka High Court has issued an notice, order of notice to the union government? Because a PIL, that is petition, has been filed. Public interest litigation petition has been filed by 4 eminent personalities. So PIL petition was filed by 4 eminent personalities because this petition is challenging the constitutional validity of the Contempt of Court Act 1971. Here the keywords what we need to focus is the challenging the constitutional validity of the Contempt of Court Acts 1971. So this act is the crucial information for prelims perspective in regards to the polity, that the 4 eminent personalities have filed a petition against or in the Karnataka High Court, and in turn Karnataka High Court has ordered an issue of notice to the union government in regards to the constitutional validity, which has been challenged by the 4 eminent personalities in regards to the Contempt of Courts Act 1971, that whether the Contempt of Court Act 1971 makes scandalizing or any trends to scandalizing courts as a ground for contempt. So here the question arises is that when a individual is scandalizing or is tending to scandalize courts, would be a ground for contempt of act on any individual or any firm. So what do you mean by scandalizing? To shock someone with an action or opinion. So if an individual is going ahead with an action or opinion which is scandalizing the court, or a trend of scandalizing the courts, would that be based, or would that be a ground for contempt of court? So that is the one which is being challenged, that constitutional validity of the Contempt of Court Act 1971. So here the keyword is scandalizing or trends to scandalizing courts is the keyword. Whether this would mount to ground for contempt by the courts against an individual. So that is been filed as a petition by the 4 eminent personalities, and the petition which have been filed by the eminent personalities are Krishna Prasad, who is the senior journalist and former editor of Outlook magazine, and N. Ram, who is a veteran journalist and a former editor-in-chief of The Hindu, Arun Shauri, a former union minister, and Prashant Bhushan, who is a senior advocate, are among the 4 eminent personalities who have challenged the constitutional validity of a provision of the Contempt of Court Act 1971, that is scandalizing or tends to scandalizing courts. Would that be mounting a ground for contempt? And the petitioners have contended that the section 2C of I of the Contempt of Court Act 1971, that this section 2C of I, it violates the right to free speech and expression. So here the keyword is as per the petitioners. I repeat, as per the petitioners or the 4 eminent personalities, section 2C of I of the Contempt of Court Act 1971 violates the right to free speech and expression, which is guaranteed under Article 19(1) of A. And they also say that petitioners also say that it does not mount to any kind of reasonable restrictions under Article 19 of 2. So here the keywords what we need to focus is Article 19(1) of A, which is in regards to the right to free speech and expression, which is guaranteed, and Article 19 of 2. The petitioner says that scandalizing or the trend to scandalizing court does not amount to reasonable restrictions under Article 19 of 2. And the petitioner has also contended that an offense of scandalizing the court cannot be considered under the category of contempt of court as per Article 19 of 2. So this is Article 19(1) of A and Article 19 of 2 are the crucial articles as per the Contempt of Act 1971, and wherein one of the provision of Contempt of Court Act 1971, that is section 2 of C of I of its violating the right to free speech and expression. And the offense of scandalizing the court, what the petitioner says that it is rooted in the colonial assumptions and objects. So as it is a colonial assumptions, now this section 2 of C of I, or else the scandalizing the court, the keyword here is offense of scandalizing the court, as it is the colonial assumption and objects. So now at this junction or during this time period, it does not hold or it does not have any place in the legal orders, especially during the democratic constitutionalism and during the open robust public sphere. The scandalizing the court or the offense of scandalizing the court does not have any place in the legal orders is the argument which is been made by the petitioners, especially during this does not have any place in the legal orders committed when India or the nation is committed to democratic constitutionalism and during open robust public sphere. The offense of scandalizing the court does not have any place in the legal orders. So this can be taken into consideration as a polity, prelims and also mains perspective of UPSC. And the another news which would be talking about is the labor courts. And the labor courts, that is according to the Union Labour and Employment Ministry officials, they say that the labor courts or else the 4 labor courts which have been enacted by the Parliament in 2019 and 2020 would now be implemented before April 1st, 2021, wherein the target is April 1st, 2021. But the Union Labour and Employment Ministry officials have made it very clear that the 4 labor laws courts would be implemented before the earlier target, that is before April 1st, 2021. And when we look at the labor or else 4 labor courts which have been elected by the Parliament in 2019 and 2020 are the one which have been amalgamated by 29 laws. Existing 29 laws have been amalgamated into 4 labor laws courts, and these are the one in regards to the minimum wages, occupational safety and then social security into 4 courts. They have been amalgamated, that is 29 laws, existing laws have been amalgamated into 4, and the rules under Code of Wages 2019 have been finalized, but the rules under the rest of the 3 laws or the labor laws are yet to be notified. So the one which is the rules which has been finalized is only in regards to the Code on Wages 2019, but when we look at the Code of Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code 2020 and Industrial Relations Code 2020 and the Social Security Code 2020 are yet to be notified by the Union Labour and Employment Ministry, but the one which is finalized is the Code on Wages 2019. So the existing 29 laws were been amalgamated into 4, that is Code on Wages 2019, Code Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code 2020, Industrial Relations Code 2020 and the Social Security Code 2020. And now if you look at the Union Labor and Employment Ministry has already made sure that the 4 labor laws codes would be implemented before the earlier target of April 1st, 2021. But the 10 central trade unions have boycotted the virtual meetings taken up by the ministry, and they say it is a farce. And these 10 central trade unions are critical about the adoption of the labor codes, that is the 4 labor codes. They say that these have been flouting all the parliamentary norms because they were not with discussions, and all these have been adoption of the labor codes have been in the absence of the entire opposition within the parliament and without any tripartite consultation. So these are the problems which the central trade unions have put forward, and they have boycotted the virtual meeting taken up by the ministry. And the 10 central trade unions which have boycotted are All India Trade Union Congress, Indian National Trade Union Congress, the Hind Mazdoor Sabha, the Center of Indian Trade Unions, the All India United Trade Union Center, the Trade Union Coordination Committee, and the 7th one is Self-Employed Women's Association. Here to be noted is even the Women's Association is part of the 10 central trade unions, the All India Central Council of Trade Unions and the Labour Progressive Federation, and the 10th one of the central trade unions are the United Trade Union Congress. All of them are boycotted and they are not happy with the adoption of the 4 labor codes. So this is in regards to the economy, or else in regards to the migrants and the trade unions. You can take this as the perspective of UPSC from prelims as well as mains examination in regards to the migrants and labor laws. And the External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, while he was addressing or at a speech at United Nations Security Council, wherein the session was convened to mark the 2 decades since the resolution, that is 1373 anti-terror resolution was passed after the 9/11 or September 9 attacks in the US. Mr. Jaishankar, while he was convening a session and at his speech at the United Nations Security Council, has called for zero tolerance to terrorism. So this was the session which was marking the 2 decades of passing the resolution, that is 1373 anti-terror resolution. So 1373 resolution, that is anti-terror resolution, is in regards to 9/11 attacks in the US Twin Tower. And the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has made an indirect reference to both China and Pakistan because they are delaying the process for designating the terrorist, that is individuals and also entities, and they are actually, that is both China and Pakistan are delaying and they are failing to stop the funding of terror. And in turn, the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has urged the United Nations Security Council members not to make any false distinction between good terrorist and bad terrorist. So here the keywords are, the first one is good terrorism or good terrorist, and bad terrorism or bad terrorist. So the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has urged the United Nations Security Council members not to make any distinction or false distinction between good terrorist and bad terrorist. So there is lot of emphasis made by our External Affairs Minister at the United Nations Security Council speech, which has marked the 2 decades of the passage of 1373 anti-terror resolution. And Mr. Jaishankar has also told the United Nations Security members that the country, that is China, is making a number of blocks, and China is holding the designated or Pakistan-based terrorists, including Jaish-e-Mohammed, that is chief of Jaish-e-Mohammed Masood Azhar, and also Dawood Ibrahim, who is behind the 1993 Mumbai attacks, that they are not being put, or they are not been made under, or they have not been designated as the global terrorist in regards to the individuals, or also in regards to the firms or terrorist organization, as per the United Nations 1267 list, which has come up in the year May 2019. So China is certainly blocking and holding the designation of Pakistan based terrorists Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar and Dawood Ibrahim as the global terrorist as per United Nations Security Council resolution 1267. And Jaishankar has also made a call, or he has emphasized on a enhanced United Nations coordination with the FATF. This is a key phrase. So our External Affairs Minister has urged for enhanced UN coordination with the FATF. So we know that Financial Action Task Force. So our External Affairs Minister Jaishankar is wanting an enhanced UN coordination with the FATF, and he has urged this just before the meeting of Task Force of Asia Pacific Joint Group. So definitely the Asia Pacific Joint Group, which is on money laundering, is a task force which the meeting was supposed to take place. Just ahead of the meeting, Mr. Jaishankar has called for an enhanced UN coordination with the Financial Action Task Force, and this Asia Pacific Joint Group, which is a task force, will review Pakistan performance in countering terror financing and money laundering. So certainly FATF is also the key word for prelims as well as mains perspective in regards to the terror financing and money laundering. So Pakistan has put under grey list under FATF. So Jaishankar wanted an enhanced UN coordination with the FATF so that Pakistan would certainly counter or would work for countering terror financing and money laundering. And now we will look at the recapitulation of the DNA, and this is in regards to the staying of the implementation of the formulas by the Supreme Court. This is as per polity, and then constituting a 4-member committee to listen to the grievances and the views of the government. And here in regards to the health of the 2 vaccines which are available, Covaxin and Covishield, people do not have any option. And the another one is in regards to the Contempt Court or Contempt Act 1971. This is also pertaining to polity, prelims and mains point of view. And we have discussed in regards to section 2 of I of the Contempt Act 1971. And this is as per the labor laws, which would be in regards to the migrant workers, which can be useful for the prelims as well as mains examination. That 29 existing laws, labor laws, were amalgamated into 4 labor laws or labor codes, and we have focused on all the 4 labor codes. And this is as per the international relations. The External Affairs Minister Jaishankar has slammed China and Pakistan for blocking and holding Pakistan terrorist designated persons to be designated UN designated, so that an individual would be designated as a terrorist and a firm or the organization would be designated as a terrorist organization. But China is certainly stopping or blocking, and that is what External Affairs Minister has raised at the United Nations Security Council speech session, which has convened to mark the 2 decades of 1373 resolution, which was passed after 9/11 attack in US. So I hope this session was informative, knowledgeable session, and especially emphasizing on the mains and prelims perspective of UPSC. I would say a very big thank you and a good luck to you all, and then do maintain consistency, stick to your schedule and take care of your physical health and mental health, and do not forget to like the video, share the video, and then subscribe the AKS IAS Academy English YouTube channel, and then also have access to the website, and then sign into the Telegram of AKS IAS Academy, that is Advanced Knowledge System, and then see you tomorrow again for the daily news analysis. Till then, thank you and goodbye.